I'm ready to first.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Snowbirds meeting room. I'm Voidwalker Joe, and with me is the usual guests. We got Shadow Spectre 11, Zoog Zimimi, and King Pain. And we're a little late doing the show, mainly because we've had some stuff going on. I've had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and kind of unexpected stuff. And then, yeah, we skipped a week, didn't we? So,
Yep.
and I know you guys also had one episode where I wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was
So-
such a good episode.
Oh, I'm
I know,
sure it was. I'm sure it was way better, way better without me.
Really? Oh.
But but yeah. So it feels like I've been away and haven't done any one of these things in months. I feel like it's been like
to
6
be honest,
months.
we did miss you.
So yeah. Well, I didn't realize how much I missed it until right before the podcast. I was like, oh yeah, I missed doing these things. So hopefully no more unexpected stuff happens between now and Monday. But this podcast, we are going to be talking all about the underground facilities that they showcased on the ISC last week. And this one might be a little bit short, but if anybody in the chat wants to chime in and ask a question, Mike has kind of given out what you should do in that situation, but you are free to ask us anything and we'll do our best to answer it and discuss it. So yeah, thanks to everybody who pops in and actually hangs out with us and watches this stuff afterwards. It means a lot.
Yes.
We plan to keep doing it, so
Get
we're not really going anywhere. But we can start off with the first question here. Actually, no, we're doing the ship of the week. I keep forgetting about that. Ship of the week, hosted by our good friend King Pain.
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead, buddy.
All right, so we've pretty much covered everything below what I would consider your intro level stuff. Now we're starting to creep up into the next stage, which usually starts getting you into your what I would argue is your considered your specialty kind of scenarios. So the first ship we're looking at, beyond your starters, is the first fighter that's truly good. It's the Anvil Arrow. So the descriptor of this beautiful piece of artwork here is: meet Anvil's light fighter of the future, featuring an ultra aerodynamic frame, slight profile, and the most advanced maneuvering thruster tech available. It is the most agile ship in its class, and it can also hold its own in a knockdown, drag-out fight. Thanks to a generous standard weapons package that includes a quad missile racks and a full complement of countermeasures, the arrow is designed to specifically leave would-be interlopers in the dust. I believe that because the engine's like this big. It is a huge engine. It is a fast ship, and it is a capable fighter. More than capable fighter. It isn't very long. It's classified as light fighter. And currently right now in the game, light fighters are what everybody's claiming as is the meta, but that's just because nothing will be balanced for a long time. I won't get into that. It's a 16-meter ship, so it's pretty short. It's a single seater fighter. It has no cargo, but it has a 270 meter per second SCM speed. So when that comes into play, this is going to be a fast ship. It's going to be a great striker, something to get in, get out. It is not something you want to take up against turrets or heavier fighters. You definitely want to do your striking and skadoogles out. So it does have some hard points to it. So it has size 3, 2 guns, 2 per round. So 2 size 3 weapons. It has 2 size 2 turrets on it. Oh, that's a big ship. That's a lot of armaments for a small ship. So it's got a lot of punchy to it. It has 2 bays that are size 3 missiles that have 2 missiles apiece, and then it has a size 2 bays. That is a lot to talk about. That may have changed, by the way. I think that has changed up a little bit. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's enough of the statistics. Here's what's great about this ship. This ship, if you want to get into bounty hunting, will take you all the distance. It is fun. It is fast. It is get off my plate. It is amazing, in my opinion. And I think that anybody who wants to get into flying bounty hunting ships, the Arrow or the Glady is going to be the ship you want to pick. One of those two. And these are more than capable fighters, and I would highly recommend you check them out. You can definitely buy them in-game as well as in the store. I'm pretty confident they're about $1 million a piece in that ballpark.
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close. I like them. I give them my stamp. I give the Arrow my stamp of approval, and I do recommend if you are going to be a fighter, you get an Arrow. I do recommend that. Outside that, the major disadvantage I want to say is that their quantum drive will not take you across the system, but they're not expected to. These are fighters. These are meant to be lying on a Kraken or in a Bengal carrier or something like that, or a Liberator. And when, assault has to happen, let the light fighters go. So
short range
fighters. So that's my opinion on this ship. I love it. I think everybody should at least try to fly it once or twice to see if they like it or not. I think if you are considering it, it's definitely one of the 2 ships to pick for fighters. With that being said, I want to ask my panel here what they think of it. I want to go to Zook first. Zook, what's your opinion on the Arrow?
I would say it's a great ship. It's a wonderful fighter, but I would not recommend anyone start off in this ship as a fighter. That being said, because it has a lot of firepower, it is a paper tiger, if you will. Well, not a paper tiger, it's a glass cannon. It can be broken very easily if you don't know how to fly and actually dodge rounds. So if you're flying a ship, and you don't understand the phrase dodging shots,
you gotta maneuver,
right?
Learn how to maneuver first.
Or pulling evasive maneuvers, right? I don't mean like we're going to turn right in a large ship for evasive. I mean like high G evasive maneuvers. You really don't need to be flying this particular ship. It really can't tank shots. You'll be in what'll end up happening a lot of the times is you'll be flying and you'll go from full shields to dead. And you'll be sitting there confused, wondering what happened. There's not really much to learn. There are more advanced techniques of fighter combat. There's not that much of a room for mistakes in this ship. That said, right now it is one of the best fighters out there. Especially when put into this behind the joysticks of a skilled pilot.
Yeah, that's a good opinion. And I did fail to mention that you should definitely have your flying chops when you fly this ship. So yeah, you're right on that 100%.
I would recommend if you're going to buy a ship to be a fighter, I would recommend a Gladius because a Gladius is sort of a good middle ground between, say, a really fast striker like a Saber, or really fast, really high DPS of a Hornet, and a really small, nimble of a Arrow. It's sort of a really good middle ground, and based upon how you fly, as you develop your techniques, what you prefer, then you will start to specialize. The Arrow is definitely one of the specialized fighters, and the speciality is I can do crazy stunts and crazy maneuvers, which makes me really almost impossible to hit, because you're going to have to be that way.
The Arrow is very maneuverable. It is one of the most maneuverable fighters in the game. I use it for racing. That's the only thing I use it for.
Yeah, a lot of people use it for racing.
Yeah. So, Shadow, you got anything to trail off there from what Zook was saying about the arrow?
I agree with Zook. I would not use this as a beginning bounty hunter. I would go with the Gladius first and graduate to the arrow, but I would take it into Arena Commander to know how to fly that ship.
Okay.
Train. Put your time into it. Because that ship can move ass. It hauls.
Yeah.
And the best way to learn it is get in it, fly it, know its limitations, know your limitations, and enhance on those limitations to make it better.
I would like to add one thing to what Shadow said and what Payne said about the balancing. The light fighter meta is the light fighter meta right now for a reason. The Arrow is the most powerful, one of the most powerful ships in the game right now for that very reason. If you're going up against an Idris or a Hammerhead in this, you can take those ships out. When armor comes into the game, and we know it's on the way, when armor comes into the game, these smaller ships will be nimble, but you may be able to do damage to shields, but you literally won't be able to do damage to armor if the armor is thick enough. As people have known me in this ship in the past, I tend to stick to what I think this ship's role will be in the future. I think this ship's role will literally be a almost an assassin's blade, an org's blade, if you will, an organization's blade. We go to attack the larger ship, and the arrow is the one that's supposed to be tasked with hitting shield emitters and hitting engines and hitting turret emplacements, right? Where the arrow can sort of sit there and pull a fancy maneuver, for 5 seconds long. That's long enough to get the shots in and then get out of dodge really, really quickly. It's not going to do damage to the ship itself. It's going to be a good ship for disabling. My arrow that I have, whenever I do fly it, it tends to be kitted out with disruptors. Because there's very few things that can outrun an arrow, and the ability to right now to disrupt a ship will be with a very quick, nimble kind of like that, will be very similar to how I think that ship will fit in the meta of the future.
Yeah, I think I have to. Point. Yeah, good point, man. Let's get Joe's opinion. I know his name.
I've been gone that long, so yeah, I understand. No one knows my name anymore. You guys have pretty much all hit the nail on the head with everything. My approach to ships is just a little bit different. I don't give a shit. I'll fly whatever I want, and I'll fail until I learn it. I will learn it the hard way. Yeah, I just, I use the arrow a lot. I end up, lately, I've been going in solo and not necessarily going in with a lot of people. So it's a great ship to get around and do what you got to do, and for most things, as long as I don't have boxes or anything, which I typically don't.
The one thing, 318, they added storage to.
That's right. Yeah.
The fighters,
mm-hmm.
And that is a good thing, because 317, there is no storage for the arrow. Yeah. In 318, you have storage now.
Yeah. So if you want to do box missions, you got it. Just don't do the multiple boxes.
Right. Or even if you're going bounty hunting, or looting on a bunker.
Yeah.
You have some storage to put things in. So, and from what I gather, this was supposed to be, this was planned a long time ago. They never implemented it. But as a surprise, it is in 318.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah. But I think, honestly, anybody spends a couple days with whatever ship, regardless, of your flying skills, get into Arena Commander. If you spend a couple days where that's all you do in that specific ship, really get used to it, you're going to be significantly better at handling that ship, after that. But the fact that the game doesn't really tell you how to practice, because a lot of people they don't know how to practice. Some people don't have the friends to be able to practice maneuvers on, and I think the best way that I've seen, if you don't have anybody else to play with, and try maneuvering, target an asteroid, stay in front of it, but maneuver all the way around the asteroid, make maneuvers all the way around it without hitting it, and do some fancy stuff, and really kind of go out of your comfort zone with a lot of the maneuvers that you do around the asteroid, and you'll get better pretty fast. So, yeah.
Well,
A lot of corkscrew maneuvers, but you'll be fine.
I'll tell you what, you will definitely learn how to fly that ship if you take it on those race courses.
Asteroids was my training dummy when learning the Scorpius. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. So he
Yeah,
already knows
no,
what to do then.
That's a good point, Mello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the ship of the week. Chad, if you have any comments on that, feel free to throw them down. And if you got a question, type question in caps if you have anything to ask. So I'm good.
All right. Not sure where Zook went, but
Okay.
we'll let him go last on this one. Yeah, he's being
Zook's
lazy.
being lazy.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So.
All right. So we're gonna.
I do want to embellish on something.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just to let everybody know, we all know that the Antares is coming out straight to flyable in 318. I haven't had a chance to fly the ship, but it is in the hands of certain people in the PTU.
Yes. We can talk about that for a minute.
From what I've seen, it is, you have to have a second, a co-pilot in the ship.
If you actually want to use the ship to its full capabilities, then yes, you're going to need the co-pilot to do the EMP and everything.
Yep.
So, yeah,
so,
it's not going to be a perfect ship for one person.
No.
When you're done, I got something to say off that too.
No, go ahead, because right now at this point, it is what we thought it was going to be. You have to have a second person in that ship to use.
I think
those
that was
controls.
a given. That was obviously they weren't going to let the main pilot be the one to control everything. That'd just be too much.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. It'd be difficult.
Go, Mike.
So, I know you guys know this, but this is just a general thought for everybody involved here. And then after that, we'll answer his question. Multi-crew is intended to be a legitimate thing in this game. It's intended for you to actually have multiple people on your ships to do things. For instance, a hammerhead. It's intended for you to have 8 people to actually function the turrets and use them, because the pilot is not intended to use those things. So that means you would still require that many people to do those things. And Antares is no exception to this rule. You are intended to have 2 people in that ship who effectively use it 100%. And the same thing is true for the Scorpius OG.
Yes.
The original. Even though you can fight with the Scorpius on both of them, it's not effective until you have that co-pilot.
Exactly.
So I think what folks, as we discussed earlier, as we kind of alluded to in our private conversation, people on Spectrum, the salt mine of Spectrum, have gone to already getting mad and angry about the whole situation. And I think we got to take a step back and remember that CIG is functionally creating things that we are asking them to create. We literally give them the money to do this, and so they will continue to do it. So I'm actually happy to see ships straight to flyable. If things are straight to flyable, let them come. Yeah, it sucks we may not be able to test it, but you got to remember 318's been an awkward phase this whole time. So,
Yep.
that's my tirade on that for a little bit here. And remember, we have other functional things coming too, like engineering gameplay, like 30 gameplay, like these larger ships are going to have this, and so you got to expect that these smaller ships are going to need that too. I mean, I got a Hull C. What do you think I'm supposed to do? Am I going to fly that thing by myself? I'm going to try. I'm going to try, but it'll be better if I had people with me because I have people on turrets. I'll have people on, co-pilot seats and stuff like that, engineering stations. So, yeah, that also leads to the subsequent conversation that'll happen probably a year from now about AI, hiring AI to work. So, with that being said, we have a question from Vrench. Joe, do you want to read that question out for our amazing human
Sure.
being?
So Vranish says, so CIG is going to push 318. Do you think it's going to be released even with all of the current blockers? I think they will.
I
think they'll release it.
I think by Thursday.
It's at a spot right now that it could be out. There's going to be issues, obviously. There's always issues. And it may not be the best patch, but it's still better than a lot of other patches we've had at its current state right now. And yeah, there's some pretty crappy stuff going on in the patch at the moment that we kind of hope they would fix, but it'll get better. They're going to keep patching it. It'd hopefully get better.
The list has gotten significantly smaller than what it was.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
they did fix a lot.
I love the fact that they were dropping. I was happy with the fact they were dropping 2 patches a week, and now like last 2 weeks is like every day. Here's a patch. Here's a patch. It's like damn, these guys are on it. Pretty happy about that. So yeah, it's
significant shift in really, I think, trying to make the patches better than they have been, and I think they have. There's a lot still going on, but it's still been better.
Well, one of the biggest things that I have noticed, and I test every day practically, and when they finally got the C2 to fly with a full load, I did it today, a full load to Area 18, no drop frames, no crash to desktop, landed and sold. That was a big thing because large cargo ships could not go to Area 18 without crashing. That's huge because it was a big problem. There were some other little issues that pop up, but the stress test over the weekend, I did a 7-hour stream. And I had one 30K out of 7 hours.
That's great.
That's really good. Even in
So I can't complain about that. I did see dropped frame rates, and stoppages, but 130K out of 7 hours, I can't complain at all.
Oh yeah, I mean hell, was it 317.3? I was 30K in like
every 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
I apologize, Shadow. What day was this?
I'm sorry?
What day was this?
I did it Saturday.
Saturday, gotcha.
7 hours and 30 minutes, I believe.
Well,
I wouldn't know.
The problem wasn't crashing servers at that point in time. The problem was crashing clients and the server frame rate that was just absolutely in the trash.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what your experience with it was, Zook, because I was gonna say because I haven't really been around. I'm trying not to get completely just. I'm not I'm not trying to feel the burnout before it hits PU. So
Well, what was your
Still
problem,
not.
Zook?
Well, my biggest problem was there was the basically the list that they gave in the patch that was released on yesterday of the fix issues about server would stutter and everyone would lose frames for a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest issues. The next biggest issue was just the server frame rate being absolutely horrible,
Well,
which means
that was Friday.
well, that was
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday too for me,
I-
anyways. Because you'd have if you were on a server where somebody took a C2 to port OSR and self-destructed it with cargo, your server was getting 3 to 5 frames per second. If you were not, then you were on a server that was relatively stable at around 10 to 15, which is perfectly fine. The AI, when it was down to 4 to 5 frames per second, the AI was back to being dumb again. But that was just because of obvious reasons.
I have a question. I don't have I do have an AMD GPU, but I don't use it. I have an NVIDIA. So-
Yeah. I think he means like what you're actively using in the game.
Yeah, actively using, I have RTX 3060. So I didn't have that much of a problem. I did encounter stutters. I did encounter stoppages. I'm not going to say I didn't, but the main thing was for 7 hours, I had 130K.
Yep.
That's huge.
I don't think I really had a single 30K from the server side. I had client crashes because when AMD detects frame rates just stopping like that, it
Mhm.
assumes the things is damaging or could potentially lock up your computer and crashes the software, so it crashes the drivers.
Yeah.
So that's just a feature of AMD more than anything else. So if the frame rate drop was bad enough and significant enough to cross this threshold for AMD, then you're like, oh, your game just is gone. But you can get right back in. Like you load back in, you were in your pilot seat, you were standing where you were. I didn't have a server crash the entire weekend whenever I was playing, although I had quite a few client crashes. But I mean, it was not bad. It was definitely not live worthy, but it definitely showed progress. And again, I haven't played since Monday. If that list of fixes are truly fixes, we may have a pretty good live on our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I found Xylo said they're targeting Thursday
Thursday, yeah.
for PU release,
Mhm.
and I'm actually kind of excited for it. We all agree that this is going to be a little bit. Well, it's going to be a buggy patch. Like that's just there's no way around it. We knew that was the end game. It was just the end game was being stable enough to get out.
Well, here's the thing. Keep this in mind. This 3.18 patch, as issue and as finicky as it is, it's still better than the current 3.17 live patch. So
Yeah,
the
oh, is
live
it?
patch,
It's better than
yes,
the current
it
live
is.
patch.
It has been, especially for AMD users. Like honestly, on the live patch right now, because I have an AMD and I'm running a 4K widescreen, I cannot fly to Crusader without my game crashing. Not
Is that
in the
still
atmosphere.
happening to you?
That was still happening in the live.
Yeah.
Like I would go to an orbital marker around Crusader, my game would crash. I'll have to load back in. I would jump to another orbital marker, my game would crash again.
But is that alleviated in 3.18?
Yes, in 3.18, that's no longer an issue in 3.18. I've never ever since I was able to play in Wave 1, because I'm part of Wave 1. Ever since day one of wave one, that issue has gone away. I have not had an AMD client crash until these last couple of patches with A318, where the entire server just like shits a break for everybody. Pardon my French, sorry. Where the server just lets go of one, and everyone's frames just drop for a few minutes or for a few seconds. Like it, I that problem, as far as AMD is concerned, I think it's gone.
Okay.
They just got to get the server frame rate dropping fixed, and that's what I'm saying. Like the current 318 PTU has been better than the PU patch currently. So
That's really good then.
I'm very comfortable with it going live. It's not where it needs to be. So they still said they still want to do hot fixes, and the fact that they are actively saying that really encourages me. The second most important thing is when they were talking about the time frame accidentally for 319, it's pretty clear that 318 is going to be a very short-lived patch. So 319 is right around the corner as far as we can tell.
319 is going to come out no matter what.
Yeah, it's going to come out no matter what, and it's not far away. So I'm thinking probably end of April.
If it's
at
delayed, so what's in that patch is nothing significant. It's not like PES and all that kind of stuff. There's no reason to really delay it too much, though, from what I see right now, unless it's just significantly worse somehow. But I mean, from what we
keep
can
in mind,
tell,
319 is on the same. 319 is on the same 318 patch structure.
It is, so it should be fine.
So yeah, it's added content. Now it could the added content could cause problems. Obviously, how things interact is never predictable. But with as little as they're adding right now, and as stable as 318 is now, we will be in a better position next week with it launched live than we would be last week or this week would be.
Yeah.
Well, this is a main thing. They did this stress test because Stella Fortuna is coming. I see a free fly coming.
Yeah.
They've already announced
probably.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
So this was to test and see how well that patch was going to hold. Okay? I'm just going to say it. And that's it. They're doing it to make sure. They're doing it to make sure that this patch is going to hold with all of those free flies coming in. And from what I've taken on it and what I've encountered, it was holding very well. It was holding very well, even though, there were stoppages and things like that. But Friday, when they put a patch out, it was so bad. The server frame rate dropped down to 1. And then Saturday, it was smooth as glass, except for certain areas. But yeah, that was a big test, man. It was big. So it's coming. And if it drops Thursday, I just want to see the patch notes with not a lot of known issues like we've seen in the past day or so. I'd like to see them whittled down some more and go forward.
That won't be this week.
If they do it. I'm just saying, if they do it. They're talking about Thursday. They're thinking of dropping it. So we'll see.
Well, even if it goes live, they basically said they're not going to be able to fix most of the issues. They said they'll be able to fix most of the big issues, but they'll still. And they've already said they're going to continue to work on them going forward with hot fixes, but it's coming to live. So when it comes to live, there's going to be a patch. There's going to be patch notes with a laundry list of things. It's going to be an issue. They've basically already told us that, and they said we are acknowledging that. We're going to continue to work on that, but it's coming to live.
Well, I'd rather them. I'm just saying, and you and I and all of us know, we'd
Yeah.
rather have something that's has stability more than content at this point. I want stability. I'm not worried about the content. Give me something stable to work with, and you can do whatever you want on the back end.
One thing that I am very curious about, that I'm going to look forward to uh, seeing how it goes when it goes live, is what happens to these servers when they've been active and live for a week, 2 weeks, a month, with content being added and content being added, not just content added to the game, but like content added to the servers, to the shards, to ships being left places. What happens in wreckages to stuff they've been there for a week? What happens to the server? Because right now they're doing resets at least at the minimum every 2 days. Usually it's every single day, right? So the oldest shard we have right now is 2, maybe 3 days old, right? What happens when that shard's a week old, 2 weeks old, a month old,
I'm gonna reset.
right? Well, they're going to reset the live.
Yeah,
That's not the goal. That's
Yeah,
not the
their
goal.
goal is to keep it is
I
to make it
know.
so they don't have to do that because
I know.
Right.
you're supposed to
But
be able to
it's
have
go-
your stuff be there when you get back.
Right,
You're
but
So
it's
what
going to
happens-
transfer to another server, right? That's what it's
Well,
supposed to do.
Well,
The
no.
server loads up. But what about the shard? I'm not talking about the server. I'm talking about the
Okay.
shard.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah. So Zook's saying it right. It is so the server is independent from the shard.
Agreed.
It's a separate thing. So all your stuff is going to be independent from these two things. Okay, your entities are on its. That's what Pez is on its own thing, and then your objects are on their own database as well. These are all separate things. What the shard is doing is it's hosting your stuff. So if this shard fails and restarts, your stuff. The objective is your stuff should move to a different shard on its own,
Yes.
but not a new server, not necessarily a new server.
Okay.
So, servers hosting a virtual container, basically.
I think you had that. I think you had the backwards pane. Might have been. So like your server's hosting the data while you play in it, and the shard is managing where everything is. And if the server crashes, then it spins up a new server with based on the data from the shard, and it should be exactly where you left off. Everything left where it was. Everything continuing to persist afterwards. The shard is going to have many servers. Ultimately, the goal is to have the shard have many servers underneath it, right? And
You're correct. I apologize.
and the biggest thing that I'm curious about is, like I said, we've only had a shard that's been 3 days old, right? Is there going to be problems that come from a shard after it's been up for a month?
Well, that actually.
What are those problems?
There's a question that was just asked that has to do with that.
Yeah. Do you know if
Hey, it's Revanish.
So
Yeah, he
And
said
Only Jen has a question saying, "Why not?"
I hate to love that guy. I hate to love the guy.
what's
Only
Bonnie
Jin-
referring to?
So he's referring.
Only-
I saw when he posted that. He's referring back to when Zook said, the whole gameplay being introduced, or better performance.
Well,
But he was like, either why not both?
Well, from a dev's perspective, it's you have two heavy plates ahead of you. You can either choose to eat the turkey or you can choose to eat the ham, and they're both going to fill you up. So basically, you either dedicate your time and resources to fix one thing or the other because you do not have the resources to fix both. But you can fix the other one later, and it's smarter to make sure stability is done before adding more things. So it's always a back and forth.
the more things you add, the less stable it's gonna get over the more shit you add.
Yep, and that falls into what Zook and Shadow were really talking about there, is what happens when you have trillions of entities that exist in a game. What happens over a week? Does the database lose track of those? Does the database have problems retaining track of those? Does it forget to move it over time because now its resources are being used up?
Well, isn't that the separation of the replication layer?
Ideally. So, but the concern is, if something is lost in that juggle of items, right? And it probably would be a database issue, I would imagine, if anything, because it would have to be in the database to be replicated, handed off to the server, but then it would get lost as far as it wouldn't count as an option to be cleaned up. So that whenever the server, let's say a shard has this bug or this hypothetical bug, right? If it may take a month, 2 months, 3 months for it to show up, but all of a sudden the server will be spun up, try to be created, and because it's just too much, the first second it's turned on, it crashes again, or it would come up and the server performance would be really, really bad day zero of the new server, even though it's the same shard, because there'd be potentially be items that which wouldn't be counted or couldn't be cleaned up for whatever reason, right? There's a lot of those things that we won't know until a shard has been up for, a month, 2 months or more. And I would imagine that's a pretty low likelihood, but it's still a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the next question from Vrenish. Do you know if there are any decay mechanisms for objects that have been placed in the PU to help decrease the load on the server? Some objects, not all. I know, like, what was it? Crash, I think they're looking at. They do have decay rate, but I know that things like
larger objects do have, or they don't have it yet. They do have decaying planned. But right now, the solution, to my knowledge, is just saying once it's been left alone, it hasn't been seen by a player in so many hours or so many days or whatever their metric is, and the less valuable it is. So like if there's a wreckage with no loot there and it hadn't been seen by a player in a couple of hours, it'd probably just despawn it, right? Eventually, the hope is that would turn into a wreckage, which would turn into a crash site, which would potentially get turned into a campsite. Who knows? But we're a long ways away from that. For now, it's keeping track of everything so that once it's no longer heavily needed or likely needed, it would despawn. That's the current decay system.
which, for what it's worth, is probably the most sufficient way of doing it right now.
Yeah,
You got a lot
by
of
far, and will
interference in your
probably be
mic,
there
by
for
the
a
way.
while. Oh, there is.
No, not you, Zook King.
Oh,
Is it static?
It's like a lot of, I guess, background muffling noises.
Much about that, unfortunately. My wife is deaf, and so she has to allow me.
I just feel that stability is the most important thing at this point with 3.18.
Until they can actually make something consistent, after server meshing, where the patches, the stability can kind of carry over a little bit better through patches. And when they start adding more stuff in, and it stops being, I guess, as much of a hindrance as it is now when it comes to patches, adding stuff in to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's still going to be unknowns even in the future, So, but we're hoping it'll get better after server meshing. Isn't it supposed to technically the patches are supposed to be a little bit easier to push out after all of that.
In theory, but
theory. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, I think they're hitting the stability that they're trying to shoot for.
Yeah, I think
I-
as far as stability, like they want you to get in and be able to play the game. If you can play it, and if you crash and you have the ability to get back in and play, and still have your stuff, that's their goal. That's the
I would like to go
That's the
to.
thing.
Sorry. I would like to go back to Randy just asked one other question about it being a good idea for a shard to have a snapshot mechanism. The shard itself is the real time snapshot mechanism. Whenever you put something down on the ground, whenever you drop something, whenever you park your ship somewhere, it gets stored as an entity on the replication layer, which communicates with, which is basically the shard entity, which is the shard part, which is the part of the shard that keeps track of where everything is. So the idea behind it is essentially within moments of you putting an item down on the ground or at a station or wherever, it would be essentially backed up and snapshotted if the server died.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're in the traditional idea of snapshots, like your VMwares, stuff like that, you can snapshot. I don't know how they're implementing it besides replication layer, and I hope they have checks and balances. Problem I have experienced with snapshots before is if the issue that you have exists in your snapshot, when you pull it back open, it's going to reintroduce that problem. So you have to get it. Yeah. So that's the problem with snapshots in the traditional sense. So hopefully they got a checks and balance mechanism that'll, is this not right? Get out of here.
That's what was going on with elevators, right?
I believe
Because
so, yeah.
when I heard, I can't remember what episode it was. They were saying something about, and I might mess it up, because I'm recalling it from a while back. They said something how they thought it was funny with persistence. There's something going on with the elevators where
It was SCL.
there was an issue with the elevator, and they essentially fixed it. But when they reset everything, they went back and it was essentially fixed, but it brought back the issue along with it. Like along with persistence, it persisted that broken elevator.
That was my understanding.
That was SCL. And
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
That was Benoit
So
talking about
they talked about that right after I remember in that patch that came out right before that, they said that they fixed the elevators, but it really wasn't fixed. And I believe that's when they came out and said that they did not, they were not expecting the broken elevators to persist like that on over to after them actually supposedly fixing it,
It's like
It's the source of my concern that I was mentioning earlier is what happens if there's a small bug that has a low chance of happening, like once a day, over the entirety of the system, a bug that happens once a day, right? How many days will it take for a shard to be persisting until that bug is so embedded into that shard that the shard itself has to be reset back to zero?
I didn't even
Right.
really think of that.
Yeah, and
or
what happens
destroyed.
if that bug happened 2 weeks ago, right? Would they even have logs for that? Would they be able to figure it out? Those bugs are going to be a lot harder to figure out going forward, and those bugs haven't really even begun to be tested right now. And it's not because CIG sucks. They're doing a really, really good job here
It's
as
just
far
the
as bug
technology.
fixing is concerned. Like, to test this particular use case, you gotta do the use case, and you need old shards for that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's interesting.
Okay. I mean, I see that it's working very well. They just weren't expecting something to kick them in the nuts, basically, and that's what it did.
I think they're always getting
Okay.
kicked in the nuts. I think that's the thing.
Well, okay, but still, it happens. So they're working through it. It's gotten a lot better, and it's not perfect, but at least we're not, totally dying every time a silent assassin takes us out. You know what I mean? It's gotten a lot better than what it was from say a couple weeks ago. Tons.
Yeah.
So
It's only going to get better. PS is brand spanking new. So the more
Yeah.
issues they have with it now,
better.
the more they're going to get used to the more they're used to how PES is reacting towards everything, and the better they're going to be able to in the future, like, you know,
Fix it.
kind of determine what might happen in the future. You know, so they could do preventative maintenance, ahead of time on the features that they do implement in PES. Like, okay, well, we know kind of like based on history how PES acted towards this, and it's kind of like this, so we could probably do this, and hopefully it'll prevent anything from happening. I'm not technical, so but that's my dumb brain saying it.
Well, I mean, the hypothesis is still correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vanish, yes, it is. I mean, we have these kinds of repair systems at my job for live phone calls.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on. I think we beat that down pretty well. So that's really good stuff to know, though, and talk about.
Already. Yeah. It's like beating a dead horse. Stop it! It's dead already.
We'll move on to the underground facilities now. That was talked about in the ISC.
Here we go.
So again, if anybody wants to ask any questions, go ahead and type in question in capitals letters in the chat, and you can ask us about what we're talking about. So
I didn't mean to drag that out, guys. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It's fine. It's fine.
How
But
dare you?
How dare I?
Shout out to my job, okay?
Oh,
I'm supposed to
that's your
drag things out.
How dare you talk about things on a podcast?
Really?
I thought Shadow's job was just to say it. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a counter on how many times he says it, by the way, up there. And if he doesn't at least hit, we're gonna have a goal for him to reach. If he doesn't reach it, then he's gonna have to do something at the end of the podcast in front of everybody.
Oh, hell no.
100 AUC.
I'll send you my smelling salts, and you'll have to do a hit if you don't.
Nope. Are we gonna take shots for every time he says it? Yeah, that one goes. That one goes.
Drink responsibly.
Trying to keep it sober, but yeah.
All right.
Well.
Okay, so
we'll go ahead and get on to the underground facilities here.
Yeah.
So, something that they said that was pretty important was when they were talking about where they are now with the underground facilities, they were saying that they are midway through white box phase. So I wanted to, for the first question, I wanted to ask you guys, from the last time we saw the underground facilities to now, are you guys happy with the progress that they've made? And where are you hoping the underground facilities going to be, I guess, in the future? And when do you think they might have an appearance? Shadow, you want to start?
From what we saw at SitCon?
Yes. To now.
Okay. To now, I'm rather pleased at the progress. Very pleased. I don't see them until when, say, Pyro is a bit more stabilized. So I don't see that coming until 2024. Just a thought.
Okay.
But if they're talking about dropping these in Stanton as well, definitely.
Oh, they are.
2020.
No, they've already said it. They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes
Okay.
towards some of my issues.
Mhm.
But we'll get into that. We have a question kind of coming up here soon that kind of leads into that. But go ahead, King.
Yeah, it's possible to select them all and replace all. Because in game design you have these things called classes and or actors. Actors aren't what you think they are. Actors are basically just an object with a static mesh applied. They could build the whole thing out and create one actor out of it, and if all of the other underground facilities, say per planet, are classified as say Hurston underground facility actor, you can go in and just change the mesh and it'll change it on the fly. And they'll just have to rebuild the game.
My thing about these things is that I'll just get into it now. We're gonna get into the question anyway. The size of them, right? They've only shown off one size, and they're massive. And I feel like they need to incorporate into the whatever building block system that they have for the UGFs. They've only said that they've with the 17 rooms that they have currently built out for them, they only have 2 overlays. There's only 2. They didn't say whether there's going to be more, but they said with the first implementation, there's only going to be 2. And I think, honestly, if they're going to populate, a lot of Stanton and a lot of Pyro and the future systems with these UGFs, I don't think they should all be massive like that. That's just my thought on that. I think they need to have small, medium, large. I think they should keep the ones that they have now, and just maybe repurpose them.
I think they're going to differentiate in size,
but not at first though, and we don't know how long it's going to stay like that. So first implementation, we all know how long those things last for. So,
well,
I would like to calm you down a little bit there, Joe. First of all, to answer the main question, I would want to go back for a moment and say the fact that they went from concept at CitizenCon last year to basically to this point in less than a year is amazing.
Yeah.
The timescale for the development that they're showing now is heads and shoulders above what they've done in the past, what they've said they could do in the past. Like literally, it was developed so fast that they're not sitting there telling us, end of 2023, we're going to have bunkers. They're just saying, look at what we've done. Because, dang, that's impressive, right?
Yeah.
They have something to say other than time frame, right? And that's what gets me excited. 2, you can tell by the way they're building it that it is modular. That while there is, like I said, just 2 base frames right now, I could definitely see different size frames being put together for any number of different purposes for a underground facility that's doing better, that's being more prosperous, that maybe finds a mining vein, right? A bunker that's losing money, that's having to shut down facilities, that's having to shut it down. And the main thing I want to, worst case scenario that you're complaining, not complaining, my apologies, that you're concerned about, and rightly concerned about, mind you, that they're just going to leave 2 frames. And even if they just leave those 2 frames, I think a lot of it will be how the differentiator between the bunkers will be how you approach it. Because there'll be more than just Microtech
the whole game.
who owns it.
Yeah.
There'll be more than just Microtech who owns it. There'll be a bunker that the bounty hunters own. So that even if you're on good terms with Microtech, you don't have access to this bunker because you're not good with the bounty hunters. There might be a bunker that, say, Vaughn owns, and he does his thing with. There might be a bunker with different groups owns, right?
The rep system is going to be tied into it. like you're saying.
Yeah.
And so
So
I'm excited to see that. I want to know how in depth they're gonna go with the rep system once they're ready to roll out these facilities.
Right.
So that's gonna be pretty cool.
they're already showing they want us to basically have different ways of getting into the bunker, approaching the bunker, based upon are you being welcomed through the front door,
But
are you being snuck into the facility?
how many
And
times?
what's really interesting,
How many times
Go
are you
ahead.
gonna do that until it gets boring? Until it's the same old thing. Until like how many you go into one bunker is the next bunker gonna be essentially the same? You know, maybe just a little bit of a different layout, and then you know same thing with another one and another one. Like I just don't want them all to be the same. You know, I don't want to get bored. I want.
I get one thing.
You don't want to
I
be
would-
competitive.
Yeah.
I would challenge that with the fact that you are going to be forced to approach some bunkers different. That this bunker over here will be really good for security. This bunker here for you, for your purposes, to be really good for assassination missions because you're not dealing with, say, Vaughn, who owns that one, right?
Yeah.
Or for Bounty, right? Or like for example, some of the maybe people or some of them may have a small one that's maybe something like that. And then the two frames that we have right now, some of them may be a large frame and small frame. Right now. We all saw the frames that day. And I'll be one that saw the more impressive. That we saw the more impressive of the two frames, which is probably the larger one, right? And so my thoughts on that is literally, I could see these being the very end of trade places. These are locations that will be consuming products, not necessarily making products, to some degree. And I think there's a lot of room for gameplay as far as mining, as far as trade, as far as hunting, as far as providing security for, like for example, let's say you're doing security, and you're there to defend the bunker from the underground facility from being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where is the attack happening? Is the attack happening deep inside? Is it happening at the front door? Is it happening at the hangars? Right? There could be a lot of situations where a repelling invaders or repelling attackers in a hangar that's being forced open or hacked open with say a cutlass steel that's landing in the hangar with 15 people running out. That experience is way different. I had to, but that's a perfect example.
You had to say the steel, but anyway.
Steel might be. We talked about it already. The steel might be, balanced to actually be pretty good in the future. So the UGS might be well enough in the future to where maybe they'll do a little bit of balancing.
Yeah, that experience of defending a hangar from a steel landing and just letting out a bunch of troops is going to be way different than somebody who's repelling invaders that are climbing through pipes. And
that's what I hope. I hope so. I really do hope that everything you say, I hope it's like that. I hope they're interesting. And
I'll put it this way, just to add one last chair on top of that, Joe. And I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry for monopolizing it. That's things they can do with current game systems, with current gameplay functions, as current predefined missions that they've already created.
Yeah.
Right? That has nothing. They could add. This is me theorizing, right? They could add the ability to fight over control of the bunkers. You could undermine a bunker to the point where they sell it and now someone else owns it, right? There could be a function system where if you are pumping that bunker that you are going to terms with enough wealth and enough trading, even though I'm not making you profit, well, a lot of profits in the short term, it makes it profitable, which means it can expand and have more features, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they can do to expand and contract it. All those things that I said are literally just things they can do with two frames, with the tools they already have in place.
I can see it. I can see it, but we'll have to see. Now something I wanted to bring up because I heard it and I can't get it out of my head now. It was another YouTuber. I can't remember what he said. He was talking about the underground facilities, and once he said it, I was just like, "Fuck, that just makes perfect fucking sense." And it's using the facilities for orgs. You know, like if they actually use these
Yeah.
facilities to let orgs actually own or temporarily own, or be able to actually use, because they're big enough where you have logistics for everything. You have everything you need for an org right there. You
I'm
have all
just
your
gonna
landing
s-
pads.
I'm just gonna say it. That would be the shit.
Oh, I mean, thinking about it, like orgs are gonna need something like that. They're gonna need a base of operations, and the fact that they're gonna have these made, and all they got to do is just have something. I don't know how they would do it, but something that would allow us to be able to use them for our purposes.
Well, you're talking about a purpose, and that would be definitely a use of AUEC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's your purpose.
A place to securely store things for your org, or relatively securely store it,
Yeah.
that another org could, if they really wanted to, try to assault and try to steal from. I mean,
And that's
there's
definitely
a
going to
lot
happen.
of
We're going to hold these facilities
Yeah.
with our orgs and see how long we can
There's-
last out.
there's a lot of complexity that can be added onto it. There's a lot of, like, the Pioneer, going back to the Pioneer that you mentioned before, the Pioneer could come down here and plant a seed of these facilities, like a very basic external seed of a facility,
Mhm.
and then an org could build it from there, right? Could expand it from there, right?
Okay.
And there's a lot of room there. For example, they used to talk about finding a mining vein, right? And a mole's not really for that, right?
Yeah.
A rock could be very, very, very much for that, where an orc could say, "We are scanning, and we think we found a vein underneath this area. Come down here and plop one of these underground facilities there, and the orc will deliver 5 rocks to be left there for anybody in the org to come help mine the vein of whatever Hadnite, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the rare commodity that they could find, whether it's gold, whether it's whatever, right? And as the vein gets used, that place gets more wealthy, it gets turned in, everyone makes money, right? And that could sort of be building on itself, where you're sort of expanding a home while you're doing other things. So in those situations, it's not even it's almost not even a space game anymore at that point in time. You're just being a
Endless
pioneer.
possibilities down there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. The one thing that I did here that I hope they don't do, I pray they don't do,
Okay.
is they said I remember, I forget it, I think it might have been, it was either Board Gamer, I think it was Board Gamer. He had mentioned that there was a potential of them being instances, like, for example, having instances that they do at the Fleet Week and the IAE of the showrooms,
Mm-hmm.
where sometimes the showroom that you're on the floor, you can be on the same server or the same shard, but be in 2 different instances of the showroom. I hope they don't do that with these bunkers, because it's a facility at a geographical location. I would hate to have intel that Pirate Org A is at Bunker 15 on Ariel, and I go to Bunker 15, I go down there, and they're there, and I'm there, and I don't see them.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
I would really hope they don't do that.
Well, I mean, this is where we talked about this before. Where Siege of Orison. I would love to complete the damn thing just once. Okay? And I would love to have an instance. to finish it. But I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's my issue with that too, is that people have done it so many times now. They know exactly what to do. They're first ones in there. They get that thing done in 30 minutes, and by the time you get to your first platform, it's done, and then you end up waiting, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours before it starts up again, or you just go to a different server. You get to a different server, they've already gotten halfway through it too. So it's like you can't really it's not really that enjoyable.
Sometimes I would rather have an instance on things than just having it out there. Okay, that's just my feeling on it. If it does come to where it is an instance, I'm okay with it.
I want these to be all these events to be Star Marine and Arena Commander maps. That's what I want.
Saying that these are you don't have to have instances to achieve that. And here's the thing, I completely agree with you. I want the ability for my org and my org only to do a Siege of Orison. To have that ability to do that. Have a 2 hour long, 3 hour long, maybe multiple day long mission that my org does. Right? That we're working on. And these underground facilities, if they made big enough, could kind of provide that. Right? You could have different parts of the facility. You have to retake different parts of the facility. Clear out medical, clear out this. If you clear out the armory, now you have access to more weapons. You clear out medical, now you can spawn in the facility as opposed to on your ship, for example. You don't have to have instances for that. All you have to have is a mission that is given to a person or an org that has earned the reputation of being able to do that type of mission.
Yeah.
And then they organize the mission they pick up. So the bunkers right now, if I pick up a mission at a bunker right now, and someone else happens to be flying towards that bunker to do shenanigans, they find my mission in progress. Mm-hmm. They could potentially do my mission or mess up my mission as is. But you rarely see that now. It does happen every once in a while, but you rarely see that now because it's without an activity there, there's really not much of a reason to be there. Right? So I would say the same thing would probably be applicable to most of the rooms in one of these underground facilities. I think you could have a very large, long-scale mission that could be made for 4 to 10 people, as opposed to made for 100.
Well, we'll see, but we'll see what happens. But it's a high possibility that it's going to be just like Siege of Orison.
To answer the question, I'm happy with the progress.
I was just going to say, Mike, your thoughts?
I'm happy with the progress. I honestly, I agree with you guys on most all that stuff. Maybe one thing. No, I agree.
Okay, there you have it.
What's next?
All right. Well, do we have any questions from anybody? No, I think we already covered
actually, Ranish did ask.
Oh, I see. Yes. To beat the dead horse again.
Yeah. Do you think with PS can we take over those bases and create our own bases? Probably eventually, but I don't think anytime soon.
Not for first implementation. You could try.
Yeah.
you could try to do something like that.
Eventually.
We might actually figure out a way. You never know. Until we actually get it in our hands. We have to see how much of these facilities are actually implemented for Tier 0. So, yeah.
You know what's hilarious?
What's that?
That's sort of a potential possibility that could happen if a large enough org goes to a shard and takes over one of those facilities and then just holds it. Just keep someone there all the time for like 2-3 weeks, right? Yeah. The developers could very easily recognize that and says, we're going to create a in-game org that is that org, like an in-universe org, and they own it. I mean, just as a short-term workaround, like it. I could definitely see. I believe their intentions are for us to own these. Maybe not maybe not ones these big, but the very minimum,
Some sort of version.
at some level of this for us to
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
And could you take one over? Could you own it? It would take a lot to take one over. There would have to be some kind of almost an Elite Dangerous war mechanism to take one over.
hmm
But I could definitely see that being something they could run with, but we're a long ways away from that.
I think, yeah. I was gonna add that it's gonna be a long ways because we're gonna need, them to do the building interiors that they talked about, and then they're gonna need to do the persistent hangars, and then they gotta go through that for a little bit, and then I'm not sure what else they would need to do after that, but I think if persistent hangars did well, and interiors did well, then they could probably flesh that out a little bit more, and yeah. Then he says, or they can create a PvP event just like Jumptown, but for big groups and orgs. Yeah. The possibilities are endless.
Keep in mind the missions that they created, like for example the Korea mission, right?
Yeah.
That mission is not called Defend Korea. That mission is Defend Location, right? There could very easily be a player group that's been getting a larger mission, Siege Warson style mission for an org to attack Underground Facility 15, and all of a sudden the server, or at least that planetary system or bounty hunters, would get a mission pop up says Defend Facility 15. Right? Boom. There's your PvP event.
Yeah.
And there's your PvP event at the location, at a facility that is large, that is massive, that has complexity to it. And again, that's all built on tools they already have in the game.
Yeah.
Other than the facility itself.
That is the first time I did think about Korea, though, to where I don't know if anybody's done it. I haven't seen any videos on it yet, where an org takes over Korea for the day, the whole day, and so that way the org can, other people in the org can do whatever they want and free to clear their crime stats, all day, and kind of they would use that to repel back, because people would be getting missions to go, and take it back. But if you got a big enough org, you could take it for the whole day.
Yeah.
Use it for your own.
It would not be easy, but it's definitely be within the realm of doable for the larger orgs.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Even with a smaller org, I think it'd be fun to try at least.
Yep.
I'm sure
So
you
just created another Jumptown.
That was the point with Korea. So,
not just Jumptown, a dynamic Jumptown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A player created dynamic Jumptown that could occur at any underground facility in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like what people do with the satellites, take it over for the day.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Next.
All right, next one. We kind of did touch on it a little bit, but I want to know your guys' thoughts on how you guys would approach for your first time going into these facilities. Like, what how do you see yourself and your org approaching these facilities? And
not well.
You said not well. Okay. Yeah, that's probably me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Requesting docking.
No, I think I fly by. Honestly, I think a lot of people, including myself, would just like kind of do like an orbit and check it out from a distance, and then land, and then
test out their checkpoints, see if it's actually activated or not.
Yeah.
Well, you got to.
What's gonna happen if I step through it without the proper rep?
Yeah,
that's a definite recon mission, man.
You have the ability to try to sneak in. You get there, you might walk through the front door, but maybe. I'm sure before they get released, we're gonna get a little tease of how to sneak in. They've already been saying, there's gonna be places to sneak in from the outside, or like a hangar or something like that.
How
Go
many
ahead.
people are going to get A2 bombed trading at these places?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, that's
Yep.
gonna be the bombings. Definitely gonna be pretty crazy. But
Here comes the A1 and the A2.
Friendly A2
It-
inbound.
I mean,
Is the
if you're inside, you're gonna be
is
fine.
the UGF friendly? You know, just
Yeah.
saying.
But that's me. That's just fly by, check it out, see what it's like, and
Mhm.
then land.
You guys plan on trying to take them?
Yeah,
Using
I
them
don't-
for because they're gonna have a lot of. We did talk about it a little bit, but they're gonna have these places useful for many different things that kind of tie into all of the game loops. You know, so there's gonna be mining UGFs and trading UGFs and everything in between. So I mean, like I can see there being one for like what is it, the not the Black Kite mission but the other one that involves organ trading.
Body parts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the trading ring. I could see it being taken over by pirates, and using it for like organ trading, base of operations or something like that, or drug
what is
smuggling.
it? The October Rising or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
But how would you
I'll-
guys,
I mean-
depending on what game loop is associated to those, how would you approach them differently for each one? Which
I
one
would
would you go to
say
first?
if my group's a pretty heavy first person shooter and traders, so our combat groups would of course attack, basically find a way to sneak into it. I would probably be part of that initiative, a good chunk of it, and then we would also be figuring out, okay, who can we get friendly with and see what kind of trading opportunities there are with it. I think for example, these would probably be great opportunities for newer players to do their early trading with the org. And the reason why I say that is I expect there to be, especially with the whole sea, by the time these things are out, the whole sea will be out. Yes, Ranage, Leroy Jenkins. And then you get killed, and I come in there with a medic. I'd be like, I thought I was better than this. Oh my goodness.
Leroy
So-
Jenkins. Okay.
Oh, he's a good shot. He's a good shot, but he's half caught. Tell you what. No, so there'd be the whole sea that does trading large cargo pieces, and then you would have trades that were taking smaller amounts from, say, Port Tresler down to one of these underground facilities as a sort of a hub and spoke trade model, right? I could definitely see us coming into Microtech with a whole sea loaded with full cargo, and our first initiative would be a lot of our newer people that own Cutlass Blacks, Freelancer Maxes, early trade vessels saying, hey, let's unload this cargo. Let's take it down to these bunkers. Let's get this cargo emptied. Right? Because I can't go down there. You don't want to go down there with the whole sea. Right? So there's a lot of that type of activity that can be done.
Yeah.
Or what kind of cargo is down there for us to take. They'll be pirating for cargo down there, just like there is pirating cargo in space.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm excited to see that.
I
too.
guess, yeah, and I honestly, I plan on doing all of the game loops, at least initially. Just the difference between it will be based upon who likes me and who do I like.
Yeah,
Mike?
that is a question.
Anybody else?
Well, Mike, I mean, you're
Me,
you're logistics. So
Yeah, so like I would love to see like here's what I would like to see because as a trader and a logistics person, I would love to see like missions from UGF to like Hurston or UGF to UGF or A to Z whatever to be able to haul things to these locations and get paid for it. Like maybe I have a C2 available to me and they need tractors or forklifts or something. That would be awesome. That would be the kind of stuff missions I would like to see for these UGFs.
Yeah.
Yeah. other things, like maybe I'm hauling people back and forth. You know, that would be something I would like to see too. I mean, obviously, you're going to have those FPS missions; those are always going to be there. But I would like to see the less violent side of things get real fleshed out.
Okay. Yeah.
Agreed.
I would agree on that too. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. You know, have something else other
'Cause
than PvP kind of be
to
focused
tell you
on.
the truth, I would like to see one of those as a medical facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd really like to see that.
Yeah, what I really want to see, like, I want to see more story elements kind of come in the game, and because my org is more of like a, a Banu thing, I think it'd be great to, because I just played Freelancer and finished that. I saw like these big facilities, that were dedicated to science, and studying alien artifacts and stuff like that, and unraveling their secrets and that kind of thing. And I would love to see like a facility dedicated to that. Something where you can go there and learn something about the story or the species that are in it, or learn a little bit more about what's going on around you. Doesn't necessarily have to be aliens. It could be anything else about the story. I really hope that there's more story elements in there other than you just showing up and it just being it. I think I want more, even if it's just things that are like laying around that you could pick up, take a look at, maybe read a letter or something. I don't know. See something on computer streams. Something, maybe some dialogue from some NPCs if they get to that point. But yeah.
Shadow.
Yeah.
What do you see? Because you said about them being a medical facility, underground facility.
Yeah.
What do you see the purpose of a larger underground medical facility?
I knew you were gonna try and throw that in my face.
No. I'm curious. That thought process is interesting. Interesting concept. I kind of like wanted to know.
Well,
where your mind was going there.
It can be a drop-off depot for medical supplies, and just like Mike said, the pickup, taken to another place, to another facility for medical relief, going to Hurston, going to Crusader, going to Orson, or going to Arcorp, and even a jump off, start off point going to Pyro. Okay? And taking those supplies from that UGF to another UGF in Pyro. So it would be a stockpile area, but it could also be a place where you have medical ships standing by. You have medical facilities for people there. Okay? It can be more than just a UGF for, say, Hurston Dynamics. It can be more than just for Arcorp. It can be more than just for Crusader. It can be a safe haven. Something more than just constant, just like Mike said, more than just constant PvP. A medical org could utilize that area for something else than what it could be.
I mean, the way they talk about it
can
seems
be
like there's going to
more.
be a good mix of a lot of those facilities, because they said they're going to use them everywhere, essentially. And
so it could be more than just. It can be more. That's all I'm saying, and that's my thought. Why a medical facility?
Yeah.
All I got.
A lot of them would be plottable initially. I'd be willing to bet.
What'd you say?
I don't think all of them will be plottable initially.
Plottable.
Being able to quantum jump straight to them.
Oh, yeah, I could see that too for some of them. But I mean, there's going to be some too, I'm sure, because that you're going to want to be able to jump to, or you're going to have to.
What I would love to see, and this is pipe dream, so maybe I'm just talking out my rear here, but I would love to see if you develop a good relationship to these facilities, to these owners,
Mhm.
that then those facilities would now become plottable because you have them mapped on your system. Like you're within their inner circle, whatever level it is, of this group, and since you're friendly with them, they now will tell you where they are. And if you lose reputation with them, you would lose that ability.
Yeah.
That would be.
There needs to be some more work though with the reputation system before they start implementing more of it, because right now, like, if you get a desktop crash or any sort of crash, it gives you negative rep. Like with whatever, if you were in the middle of a mission with somebody, you end up getting a lot of rep taken away because of that crash. And it's not like you can just get back into game. You know, when you get back into the game, you fail the mission, and that's it. And
Yeah, which
I've
sucks.
I've had that mess. I've had this happen a lot with the Miles Eckhart missions in the middle of trying to get them done, and I just gave up because there's a point where it would ruin my rep with him so bad. There's no way in hell I'm ever getting any good rep with him again. They just don't pop up anymore after a while, and there's no other ways that I could see to be able to gain more positive rep with him through other means to get those missions back. So
I think they did fix that in 318.
oh, did they? I'll have
Yeah.
to take a look at that. But if they have
So, like-
if they have that fixed, where if something happens to you, you know, then you know, at least crash wise, or that's not your fault, then yeah, as long as they got that fixed, you know, to where if something like that happens and you don't have negative rep at the end of the day, then I'm all for it.
Well,
I don't know if this was a bug or not. I was playing the PTU and the server crashed. It had a 30K, not my client crashed. The server crashed. And I got back into the same shard. I logged in and I still had the mission accepted.
yeah,
Oh, did you?
same here.
Because it would end it for me. So I really hope it's fixed. That would make me very happy.
Even if this was a thing too, even if the mission was glitched, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you logged out because you couldn't finish it. You logged out. I got back in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went in on a logged out, got back in. I still had the mission, so I didn't lose it.
Oh, okay.
I was able to complete it.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, it holds. It does hold. Unless you abandon it. If you abandon it, then you screwed yourself.
Yeah, as long as they have the rep system down to where it makes perfect sense, you know, like where they could go ahead and make it matter more, you know. It's the same thing with like the law system, you know, like there's so many more improvements that they need to do with the law system to be able to move on with a lot of other things, because right now people are just getting, I mean, which a lot of people are getting, you know, charges they shouldn't be getting at the moment, but it's getting a lot better. They are cracking down on them from what I could see. But yeah. So other than that, we have the last question for the underground facilities. And after that, we'll talk about the Mystical Fury a little bit. Just a couple basic questions on them and see what you guys think. But so the last one, do you guys think, what do you guys think the tier 0 of the underground facilities is going to be? And do you think they're going to be lived in? Do you think the checkpoints are going to work? Because we have checkpoints everywhere on major, you know, landing zones, and they don't have them working.
It's going to be a bug hunt. It's going to be a bug hunt.
Okay.
because to me they're going to make the mission like a bunker on tier 0. That's just how I see it.
So you don't think there's not going to be much going on at all? It's just going to be kind of like
At
a place
this
that you go to.
at this point in time, I don't. I just feel that it's going to be a mission where you have to go to, you have to clear out an objective, or unless you're doing something particular to get some data or something like that, it's going to be the same until they go to the next tier.
Okay. I kind of feel the same.
That's,
What about you, King?
I think you'll have some AI there. I think you'll have your basic missions there, like your go seek and destroy missions. I don't think it'll be too complicated at the beginning.
Right. Okay.
Their objective is to get them out, not to make the facilities facilitate.
yeah, they're not going to be embellished on the initial startup.
I think, yeah, I think the basics of what we have right now in game with all the other game loops, I think we'll have at these facilities. So if there's going to be one for trading, I think you're going to be able to do some basic trading. We'll have to see where the cargo refactor is at that point. They showed off 32 SCU boxes there, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see because we still don't know when they're going to first kind of show up. So we really don't know how the state of the game is going to be. What about you, Zook?
I think the tier 0, as you put it, will basically be the fully fleshed out static bunkers, a handful of variety, probably 10 to 15 different meshes that are static. That will have the already predefined missions that we already have now. That will occur in different parts of the facility. Assassinate, defend, go pick up cargo boxes, for whatever reason, sneak into a facility. The missions we already have now, just in static bunkers that will be in different parts. They already have the ability for AIs to fly ships in and deliver people, right? They have the tools now to create a pretty good variety of the missions that they already have in the game for these bunkers. If they don't do that, I would be heavily disappointed. I don't think I think it'll be more complex than what we have now, just because there's already going to be complexity in the game by the time that day comes, and the implementation of that complexity in a bunker will be easier to do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's about what I think too, for the most part. I agree. We'll go ahead and talk about the Misk Fury now. And before we get into it, if anybody has any last questions, because we are almost done, the Misk Fury question will be the last one that we have. So go ahead and get them out now. That way we got enough time to see them and answer them. It could be about anything.
Come on, Leroy. Ask that question.
Yeah, give us your speculations on what you think the Misk Fury is. For anybody who wants to jump in, go for it.
It's going to be a partnership ship between Misk and RSI. It's going to be Misk's attempt at recreating the Aurora.
Oh, God.
I want to light you on fire for that. No, I think it'll be a light fighter or it will be a ground vehicle. A ground assault vehicle.
Okay.
Ground assault vehicle? Really?
Yeah. Well,
I kind of feel the same. To me, it makes sense. Just because, I don't know, Misk doesn't have anything like that, so
yeah,
I don't know. I would think they would want to dabble in something on the ground. So
I can also see it being a racing vehicle too, because that's a
Could
pretty
be.
heavy.
Misk Fury being a racing vehicle. I don't know. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
Well,
It
yeah,
doesn't seem like it
You've
fits.
got
But
you've got the Razor.
the Razor sounds more like a racing vehicle, though. Fury
Yeah,
just.
but a Fury.
I'm saying it's possible, not that it is, but I would agree it's probably more likely going to be some sort of attack vehicle. It's definitely got to have some sort of assault component to it because you don't name something Fury and expect it to be meh. You expect it to be a fighter.
Got to live
or
up to his
some,
name somehow.
Yeah, like a tank, right? Like a Fury is the name for a tank, so I could see Mist releasing some sort of tank.
That would be cool to see. That would. When I don't remember his name, but on the live when he announced it, not announced it, but when he kind of said it, he looked like the way the conversation. I thought it was funny because as I was watching it, I was looking at his face when Jared told him, he's like, is it okay for me to say what they're working on? He's like, yeah, go ahead and say it, and I'll let you know if it's okay. And I feel like he kind of took that to heart, and he was like, okay. I'm gonna say something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. I'll go when you're done because I got a whole.
Well, I'm almost done. When he said it, he took a minute to say it, right? Like he
Yes.
sat there. He's like the Miska, and then Fury. Like he said it how I would say it, just super fast and quick, get it over with, and then just be like, okay, I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but I said it. It's done. I can move on. And then no one acknowledged it whatsoever. And I feel like, he quickly moved on to kind of cover his tracks and be like, okay, maybe nobody heard it.
Yeah. So I got something to say on that. I think CIG is doing this on purpose. By the way, if you watched,
could be. That's the
in
new
the last
new theory.
in the last 4 months, they have done the same thing at SCLs. Somebody has said something that's behind the scenes, and here we go.
I think they
Was
love
that
it.
a leak?
They
I
love
think
the
they do it on
chatter.
purpose. They do. And I think that this is a result of what we've seen with the Galaxy. Because somebody leaked the Galaxy, right? And then they noticed how much in the cutter, and they noticed how much we were really talking about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it's plausible that you know what? This is a marketing tool. Let's get people talking about this stuff for when we release something.
And they're laughing over there.
They are.
They like it, so.
But that's just an idea. It doesn't mean it's true.
There's no way. There's no way.
No way. What?
I'm sorry. There's no way this is marketing.
Okay.
Just straight up. I think this was just a mistake someone mentioned on the show, and that generally speaking, CIG's policy when a mistake is made, said, spoken, whatever it is, their job is to not acknowledge it, not acknowledge its existence. Oh, we're being delayed? Okay, when do we actually announce that it's delayed? After it's already come and gone, right? That's when we announce that it's delayed, right? And whenever there's mistakes made, regardless of what it is, we don't talk about it. We don't mention it. I feel like this was an honest mistake. He wasn't supposed to talk about it.
Mm.
And we don't really know what it is other than it's from Misk.
No.
I don't know because this is the third mistake in 2 months.
But the company's huge, man. When you have structures and organizations where the extent of the personnel is that massive, leaks are going to occur. Leaks are going to happen.
Sure. And
somebody talks to the girlfriend. The girlfriend talks to somebody on Discord. Now this was on ISE. This was not on. This was not from third party resources. This was not from Reddit. This is definitely something different. It was on that show. But keep in mind, this was live. This was not.
This is the third time in 2 months on Star Citizen Live. That's what I'm saying. Is they're doing it on Star Citizen Live. I think they're dropping nuggets, but they're not. it's just a way to get us people riled up. That's what it
I
is.
think 3.18's been delayed for so long that the developers are used to talking about something within so many months of them being worked on. Assuming that it's been talked about, being
It's common
brought
knowledge
up to the community.
between them.
Yeah, it's common.
So
Yeah,
they
but
say
it's
it,
coming
and
out between
it's
them.
normal, and then you almost kind of lose sight of what is actually normal within the community.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when they say
If you're-
something,
if
they're
you're-
like,
if you're
oh yeah, that's
Jared,
right. They don't have
internal.
that yet. Like,
Yeah.
I've been
If
playing
you're
around with it
if
for
you're
months.
internal to Jared and internal to the developers, right?
Yeah.
What they talk about on a casual conversation, which is what ISC is becoming, right? Much more of a general casual conversation. They're used to more news being released. They're used to more stuff being more aware of what's coming out soon, rather than later. And with 318 being delayed, that's happening less often. And I think they've, like I said in the past, they're holding stuff back for 319 and coming up soon type of situations where they're going to create not necessarily patches, but content for this upcoming year. And these developers, are not generally on live video because usually they're talking about the new, latest, greatest upcoming stuff. They're not talking to developers about the developer's day-to-day life, which is different. That's been different for the last 3 to 4 months. And so these mistakes are bound to happen. Like, it's just,
Sure.
You make an hour-long video, and I'll say a curse word, and I'll get the show demonetized.
Both you
just
guys
not
make
because I
perfect
intend to.
sense. So
I
think
it could be either way, but
I think the answer lies in Jared's face. We didn't see his face.
It does.
His reaction to what he says is the key, and we
everything.
don't get to see that. So
yeah,
we're left in the dark.
If I'm allowed to at least believe in one conspiracy theory, that this is the one thing I will believe in. But I will absolutely concede to the point that it is possible that I could just simply be wrong. That's fine. But I do think that, honestly, that they are doing it on purpose, and I think it's going to happen. Like, it's going to consistently happen throughout the year.
Mhm.
We're going to consistently see these leaks occur, especially from vehicle content team. And if it happened like once, yeah, I agree with you there. But like, it happened once by accident, and they like realized, oh god, now these people, everybody's talking about this.
Mhm.
So as long as we both agree that either way is possible, I'm good to go, man.
Fair enough.
I don't give them as much credit as you do.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fine. That's fine. I just want the possibility. That's all I want.
Fair enough. So with that, everybody, this is your, any last words before we kick off the stream here?
Announced that Pyro was delayed. What?
Said Pyro is delayed.
I feel like Rand's just trolling me right now.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that either.
The Galaxy is announced. We were asking where it is. Galaxy was leaked a few months before SIGCOMM.
Yeah, the Galaxy was leaked, or a version of it was leaked along with the cutter, well before they had any public announcement facing towards it.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
There's a couple times we thought we would get the chance to see it, and we didn't. A little bummed out. So I remember it taking a long time.
Because eventually they did a Star System Live on it, or the SCL. They did SCL on it, and like after CitizenCon and after
the question
November.
and answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it
the
was.
Q&A came after CitizenCon.
Yeah, and I can't remember. It was after CitizenCon. Was it before or after the November event?
What?
The Free Fly November event?
The free fly was 3.17.4.
And that was during IAE.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to remember. I was just saying that specific Q&A about the Galaxy happened around that time. I just
Yeah.
can't remember if it was before or after.
It happened right before the IAE.
They did have Spectrum posts, roadmap mentions of concepting of a new ship, right? A new larger class ship. They did mention that, but they didn't say it was the Galaxy. They didn't say who it was from, right? The first we heard about it was the leak.
Yeah, and it caused
Then
a lot of
was,
controversy too, based on what we thought
yeah,
it was.
and that was that's one of the first time they actually, the leak was so bad and was supposedly so different to what they were going to be selling or putting out there, that for the first time in a long time, CIG actually mentioned and commented on the leak, saying we're very disappointed in this being leaked out.
Oh yeah, that was when the guy leaked the
The cutter.
Mhm.
He leaked the cutter.
Yeah.
He leaked both of them. They leaked both of them well before they were announced, well before they were released.
Yep.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think the cutter was very smart for a ship. But anyway, that's beside the point. Sorry.
I think it was playing it safe. That ship, it's definitely playing it safe, but it was a good choice.
It was smart. Yeah. What's the next question?
It was final thoughts. That was it.
No, I thought it's a when will we see it deal. My final thoughts. Yeah, I'll use that for my final thoughts. We'll see it probably the concept maybe in summer, and we probably won't actually see it until next year. Unless Turbulent kicks ass, and then we'll see it before the concept's out. No.
Done.
What?
We're probably going to see it Fleet Week.
That's what I think.
Probably, yeah. I could see that, yeah.
Because if the VX the visual folks are the ones working on the Miss Fury, whatever it is, then it's pretty close to being complete. And I seem to think the name they mentioned that was working on it, I want to say he was one of the more senior folks. So he's probably polishing it, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that one, so quote check me on that one if you can. But it would not surprise me. This is a smaller ship, a small ship or ground ship, like Payne said before, and that this is one of those straight to flyable ships that they release at Fleet Week and whatnot.
That's what I was going to say too.
It'll be the LTI token. That would not surprise me.
If it's ground or anything small, then it has a higher chance of being more straight to flyable.
And they'll sell a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's LTI token.
Final thoughts, Shadow, on anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
What we talked about tonight, I'm pleased with. So yeah, I'm good.
All right. Well, that was it for the show today. So I appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out with us and talking with us. I really like doing these things with everybody, so it's really fun. We do them every Monday, Tuesday, every week. So talking about anything relevant with Star Citizen. So yeah, thanks again, everybody. And this is where we say goodnight, and we'll see you in the next episode, guys.
Bye, guys.
Classic Commanders.
Take care.